Hey, thank you for joining me today. I so appreciate everyone who watches my videos and just would ask you to subscribe and like so that it helps me to get the message out. And today I'm talking about retirement. I did a little experiment and I interviewed a few people and asked them about what they thought of retirement. And I talked to some people that are about to retire and I talked to several people that are retired. I just want to give you some of the feedback that I got and see if it helps anybody to begin to think about retiring if that's where they're at, or even for their parents, and to see if you can glean some tips out of this to make your life happier and more peaceful and going forward and to have some fun. Because, every video I talk about, I'm always adding to the fact that we deserve to have fun, especially if you're retiring and you have worked as long as I have. And there's a time when you just want to enjoy life. Now, I'm not retired. I have a full time business by choice, but I am retired as an employee. I no longer have to work for anybody, and so that therefore my days are scheduled by me. My time is my time. So you have to have some kind of routine. I found out to live like this, and so you need to either get up and act like you're going to work, or you have a regular schedule. For me, sometimes my days are 8 to 4. I've even worked 8 to 7. There's times on Fridays where I've only worked maybe 8 to 1. So, I have flexibility in my time, but I'm working and generating income and having a good time. So that's my story. But I have a lot of friends that are retired. So I asked them if the first year that they were retired, if they had a plan. And all of them said no. And I did also interview a gentleman that is going to retire. And he's the first one that I'd like to talk about, because when I asked him what he thought of retirement, he said it scares the S blank out of me. And I didn't expect that. But I said, what scares you about retirement? He said, well, I have a job that I really love. I love my work. I actually like the people I work for. And I just like the routine. I feel like I have a purpose. And I look out into retirement and I see like a cave with a darkness that I don't even have a flashlight for. And he said, I don't really want to retire. He said, but I'm going to be forced out because of my age and also because I make money and they don't want to pay me as much. They prefer to hire a younger person with a little more technical skills that actually is going to make less than me. So I'm on my way out. And yes, it does scare the blank out of me. So we talked a little bit and I gave him some ideas, and I'm going to give you those same ideas at the end of the video. But then I also talked to a friend of mine who retired from the military. And she said the first day that she had of her retirement, she didn't have a plan for a year out, because I always have everybody, do you have a plan for at least the first year? Because that helps a lot. That's like a major transition period where you're going from this certainty to uncertainty. So it's good to create a vision. And that's going to be something I'm talk to you about at the end. And she did not have that. And so she said she felt depressed, that she got up in the morning and really didn't know what to do. And I'm thinking that makes sense. I mean, if you're in the military, they're telling you what to do. You know what to do 24 hours a day. You're accountable to somebody at 24 hours a day. You go from that to nothing, no accountability at all, and you don't have to get up at 5 in the morning. Yes, that was a challenge for her for a long time. But her answer to that was to create a business. So she ended up creating a consulting business and ended up working. But she was working for herself, but she ended up working a full 40 hours a week most of the time for a long time. And then she retired again. And so she said, so I actually have retired twice. And both times it was not the best experience for me. But the second time she was married. So she had her husband and they had kind of dreams and plans together. And they eventually did work that out to move to a different state and do some of the things that they want to do. But they're still working on their retirement plan as well. So I had some tips for her as well. And then I talked to someone who has been retired for probably 8 years now. And I had dinner at her house and I said, so what do you think of retirement? And she said, first of all, she asked me, when do you retire? And I said, never. I'm not. I retired my vehicle and I put new tires on my life vehicle and I'm doing another thing and I am going to not, you know, take that other word retirement and use it because I doubt very much if I'll ever do that. But she said, well, first of all, when I first retired, I was excited because I thought, oh, I don't have to get up every morning. I don't have to drive an hour because she was driving a whole hour. But she said, when I first retired, I kind of missed some of the young people that I worked with because I liked their young ideas. I liked working with them. But she said, I thought, this is great. I have several grandchildren. I have a daughter that lives around the corner. Another one lives 40 minutes away, another one out of state. I think that I'll make dinner for the ones that live close by every single week. And we get together, play games, and have some fun or watch a movie or whatever. Every week I'll make dinner because I love to cook. And the other one that lives out of state, I'll either go there or she can come here whenever. And she said none of that worked out. That she feels like she sees her kids less now than she did when she was working. I said, what? How does that work? She said, I don't know, but that's kind of what happened. She said, and it's been taking quite an adjustment on me. She says, but I love to cook. So sometimes I'll just cook and I'll bring some food down to the neighbor down the way, she said. But, retirement's not all that they say it is. And she goes, I watch a lot of Netflix. I really don't want to do that. I spend a lot of time alone. And I said, well, is that what you want to do? And she said, no, but I don't really know what else to do. I don't feel like I want to go out and work. So maybe volunteer once in a while. I do that once in a while, but she said, I just don't know. I just take it one day at a time. So I was able to help her out as well. And then I talked to someone else who said that they knew that they were going to have to retire and they were single and they didn't want to be alone, and they saw retirement as going to home to an empty house. Now I have to tell you, when you work, you have a routine. You get up at a certain time, you have to be somewhere at a certain time, you got to do certain things, and you are accountable to people, not as much as you are in the military, but you are. And so in your mind, it's set, it's easy. You just know what you're doing. When you retire, I've heard people say, I'm going to stay in bed, I'm not getting up at 5 o'clock. And then they try to stay in bed and sleep, and sometimes it doesn't work out real well. And then they get up and they're like, I don't really know what to do. So don't have a routine. And this particular person said, at first, she thought this is great. I don't have to deal with the people anymore in that office or the office politics, and I could do whatever I want. But she didn't think about really what she wanted to do, and she didn't have a vision for the first year either. And that's so important because you are going from like really one place to another. It's almost like moving. You pack the truck up and you get to the next house and you got to figure out where things go. The same thing with retirement when you leave a job, when you're no longer an employee and you don't have to be accountable to someone or a company. So it's really looking at new organizations. Again, my tagline, retire your life vehicle, R-E-T-I-R-E, not retire, retire your vehicle, put new tires on it and go in a different direction. So we talked about some of her dreams and some of the things that she wanted to do in the future, and I was able to give her some guidance and some help. And then the last person that I talked to said that they really missed what they did for a living. They missed their job. And they were having a very hard time not going back to the office and having lunch with them a lot. Like that was their pivot point for security. And that they knew that that wasn't going to last forever. And so they were trying to figure out what to do next and had made a decision, kind of living like an ostrich in the sand with their head in the sand because they really didn't have answers. So they were just hiding from the fact that eventually they really should establish a new purpose. And they were making the best out of it. All the people that I talked to, except for the first guy who wasn't retired yet, really thought about what do I do, but didn't do anything because they didn't have anybody to talk to about it, which is why I am a retirement coach, because I've witnessed some things that can happen with people when they don't have a plan. And some of the things broke my heart. So I thought I never want to see anybody go through that again. And I put this program together so that people can have certainty in their retirement and direction and a purpose. So here are some of the things besides making an idea for the first year. The first thing is to really create a plan for the whole next year. So if you retire in May of 2026, make sure you have a plan in your head that goes all the way to May 2027. And even break it down by the month. Put in activities that you'd like to do. Whether you do them or not, they are going to give you a reason to get up and look around to do new things. So that's the first thing. Make a plan for the first year. Then the second thing is to create a vision with a new purpose. You know, when we're driving in the car and we're looking at the dashboard, we're actually thinking about things that's happened in the past, things that are happening now. We're daydreaming. You know, we're looking at 60 things at one time while we're driving. We're listening to the radio and we're daydreaming. It's really true. I call it dashboard thinking. And during that time, there's things that we have thought about doing. Like, for instance, I often think about going to Italy. I wanted to do that. I've had a plan to do that a couple times. COVID killed it the first time. And then I just got really busy with my work and I have not been able to resume that dream. But I still think about it. And I think about where would I go and who would I see. And since I am Italian, there's people down in Sicily that, who knows, maybe I could find some ancestors. But I think about that. We do that. All of us do. So create a vision for what you'd like to do with your future. And you can plan it for a year. You can plan it for 5 years. Whatever you feel comfortable, whatever the dreams are, just jot them down. And there's lots of ways to create a vision, and I can definitely help with that. The other thing I really stress to people is that you want to have all your important papers in place. Aging has its uncertainties, and there could be a possibility where you might have to slow down, or there could be a medical event. There could be something that happens that you don't have control over, and you want to have all your papers intact so that your family can reach them and know exactly what you want. And the reason that I put that into the program is because I saw people whose family brought them into the community I was working at, and they were speaking for their parents because the parents had lost their voice pretty much due to an illness. And then the siblings were arguing about what mom wanted, and mom was sitting there and she couldn't express herself. And it was so disruptive that the family ended up suing each other, the siblings, because they all thought they knew what mom wanted. My mother was very clear about what she wanted, and in some cases she put it down on a little piece of scrap paper that you get in the mail from donations and stuck it in a file. But it was her words. We didn't have to guess. We knew down to the wire of what funeral home she wanted to be at. So it's really important that you do that. And there's a whole system that can give you all the files that you need to have in place for that. And you have to make sure you have a will. I've talked to people that don't have a will, and that always shocks me. So the paperwork's important. And then the last thing on this little short list is to evaluate your space, like where you live, and is it suitable for aging, and your time. How much time do you want to devote to having fun, to sitting at home and watching Netflix, to figure out how to do your paperwork, to visit friends? Look at your time. You don't have to put that in a strict schedule, but you do need to think about it, because otherwise you'll forget we do that. When we're older, we forget, I could have went and seen Carla today, but I forgot, So I had that new friend I was promising to call, but I didn't. So, it doesn't hurt to put down how much time do you have for certain things? And you can put down what you want to do with that time too. So 4 things. Make sure that you have a plan in place for the first year. Second, create a vision that with a new purpose of what you'd like to do. All the dreams you've had all along, just write them down. They may never come to fruition. You may not even want them to, but you write down your dreams that you've been thinking about for a long time. Like one of the guys I talked to said he wanted to get a cabin and go fishing, but his wife didn't like that, so he never got to do it. So put down that some of the things that you dream about doing, and let's see if you can make them happen or not. The third thing is to make sure you have all your paperwork in place. And the fourth thing is to evaluate where you live. Make sure it's safe. Make sure that you could live there to be 100 if you decide that's where you're staying. And then look at your time. How much time do you want to put towards things that you want to do or volunteer or work part-time or whatever it is that you want to do? What kind of time do you want to spend on those things? So those are the 4 things that I have to offer. And I hope that this gave you some ideas. And if you're sounding like any of the 4 or 5 people that I talked to and you want some direction, I have a lot of programs. So reach out to me and we can talk and see if I might be the person to just give you some guidance. And then again, if you could please subscribe and hit like, I would so appreciate it, because I'm trying to get my message out to as many people as I can. So thanks again for listening, and see you soon.